Good morning. My name is Josh Bednarik. I have the honor of serving as the Planning and Development Department Director. Thank you all so much for being here. This is the fourth of our series of listening sessions that we have had with you as our customers. And it's been a great experience. I'm looking forward to the discussion today. We've got a lot of great folks in the room that I want to introduce, but before we get to introductions, part of, as we go through this process, as we endeavor to get better, one of the critical things that has to be in place is strong leadership and support from city management and from our city council. And we're really, really blessed with an incredible council that's leading us through this effort. Really blessed to have an incredible Vice Mayor Deborah Stark. As many of you, as you all know, she used to be our former director. Deborah actually hired me and brought me into the department. It's why I'm leading with it, right? That's why I started it off. I didn't get a minute in without mentioning that. So I'm very grateful for the Vice Mayor being here today. I'd like to have her come up and say a few words, and then we'll go through a series of introductions and then get started. So, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. It looks like we have a small but mighty crowd here today. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that use our services at the City of Phoenix when it comes to development. And I will tell you, we've gone through a lot. We all have gone through a lot during the pandemic. We lost some good employees. We've recruited new employees, and so there's a lot of changes going on at the city. And so I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to hear what you guys have to say. Clearly, it's important what we do in the arena of planning and development. We talk about public safety. Obviously, we have fire and police, but so is what the departments that issue building permits do. I always say, when you guys are running out of a building that's burning, fire's running in, so we got to make sure we have safe buildings, and so we take our job seriously. But I know there has been some hiccups in the past, and we want to make sure that we correct them and that we provide the right service. What we do is important. I am concerned about the timing of our permitting, so that's why we're having these meetings, to hear suggestions from you, and then staff can digest them and kind of overlook them, and hopefully we can solve the problems. Because clearly there's some things going on in our city that are important. One is affordable housing. The longer we take to do permitting for affordable housing, the more expensive it gets, and we don't want that. We need the affordable housing because we do have a crisis out on our streets. The other is building shelters. As you know, that's a big deal for me. We're trying to get our shelters built so that we can house people that are unsheltered. So there's a lot going on that's very important to the city, but you guys are very important to us, so we understand what we need to do better. I do think we do a lot of great things. We have a great staff. I can say that because most of them work for me, and so I think they are great. But I think we can learn, and things change, and we're very open to that. I have some suggestions myself. I recently got a building permit for a wall, and
thank you.
I did it legally, but I have some ideas, and so obviously, hopefully you have ideas as well. So I will turn it back to this great staff. Thank you all. And if I yell at you in advance, I apologize. Get those permits issued.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So as the Vice Mayor hit on, building the city, really, you do all that in this room. And as we endeavor to be better, part of what many of you have been in these sessions have heard me talk about before is culturally, we really want to frame that effort under the umbrella of partnership, right? That this is a team effort to get the city built. We understand our role is to help administer the codes and ordinances, to keep people safe. You're out there building that, and our job is to get you through our system as quickly and efficiently as we can. Part of that partnership, though, goes outside of starts with inside our walls, right? I mentioned the leadership from city management, from our mayor and council, but I'm so grateful to have so many of our department partners here this morning. We've got street transportation, fire, water. Who else do I think we have here? City Engineer's Office. Just really grateful for a lot of our department partners here to listen. Part of one of the next steps about this is to take all the feedback that we've heard and sit down internally, not only amongst us as a group, but with our partner departments to talk about the things that we heard, the lessons that we learned, and what we're going to endeavor to do together to get better. So why are we here? Again, to listen. Part of what we've been using these as an opportunity, those of you who have attended before, are to introduce our management team. Oh, I know, we have a team from out of town, Bloomberg Associates. Grateful for them. They've been a tremendous partner with the city on a host of projects, but we've got, I think, probably their best team in play, really working with us right now to talk about and helping us as they work with us on this effort and helping us put together the recommendations. So grateful for Bloomberg's partnership as well. Part of the initial packet that we sent out was an introduction of our management team. I'm going to have them introduce themselves here in just a second. Part of what we want to do, and you'll see here in just a couple slides, is get back to three things really from a service model: personal, seamless, and innovative. And part of endeavoring to be more personal is to make sure that everyone, all of our customers, know about the great team members that we have in place, and we're starting that with our management team. So I'm going to turn it back to them right now, have them introduce themselves and their team members. We'll start with Sam.
Thank you, Josh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sam McAllen. I'm an assistant director here with the department. Really appreciate you being here today. I get the privilege of overseeing a couple different groups in the department. One of them is our Office of Customer Advocacy, which helps out with the adaptive reuse program with the city, also helping out small businesses that are along the light rail extensions. Renee Blakely is going to introduce herself in a little bit, but she manages that for us. We also have our Ombudsman section. Our Ombudsman section helps people when they're trying to figure out just where they are in the process, the steps they need to take. I've got David Urbanato and his entire team up on the stage. David will introduce himself in a moment. I also have the privilege of being over our inspections group, and it's a massive group that Tom Wandry, our deputy director, is over. And you'll find out we have over 280,000 inspections we do every year. So he's got a big team with a big job. And the other item that I help out with is the TSMC project that's taking place in North Phoenix. So those are the areas I'm responsible for. I'm going to turn this over to Mary Ann first.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, my name is Mary Ann Fotinos, and I am the Assistant Director over Business and Strategy in the Planning and Development Department. And I will be remiss if I don't say that Deborah also hired me. So thank you. Thank you very much. I oversee a lot of the stuff that goes on in the background in planning and development. So the technology, which is so important to how we serve our customers. Also, the financial stability of the department, how we charge fees and ensure that we recover the costs of the work we do. It's really important right now as we're trying to, increase some salaries, hire and retain the best staff to help us make some of these improvements that we're talking about. And I also have Adam Miller works with me, and he oversees the growth and infrastructure, long-range plan, some of the long-range planning and special projects. So really anything that supports the business, and then I do have some outward-facing services too that fall under me. Oh, go this way? Okay, I don't know which way to go. All right.
Good morning. I'm David Urbanato. I head the department's Ombudsman section, and I did want to introduce, if those of you here who have been lucky enough to work with one of them, Josh States and Brianna Quintero, the three of us together are the small Ombudsman section, small but mighty, but nice to be here, and good morning.
Hi, I'm Helena Reuter. I am the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Phoenix. So most of our work is done in about the 9,000 to 10,000 designated properties we have. You might also intersect with our group if you have a commercial building over 50 years of age you're looking to demolish. And we also do Section 106 compliance for the National Historic Preservation Act. So if you're using HUD funding or any federal funding or federal permits, those come to our office for review as well. And I'll hand it off to Mike.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Mike Abeg. I'm the acting deputy director and building official. I work, Jason Blakely couldn't be here today, but happy to be working under Jason. He's a great leader and has a lot of experience, been in all aspects of the department. So the building official group, I work with the technical leads. We provide internal training. We also provide some training for the community. We oversee the self-certification program, which is a successful program. We do the training for that and then do the audits as well. You might also be familiar with, sometimes we have the adopted codes, but then projects might not be able to meet the letter of the code, and so we have to go outside and find an alternative method to meeting code compliance. So that's our code modification procedures, so I'm over that. We're also looking at adopting new codes, so we're going and looking at the base I-codes and then looking at City of Phoenix amendments, so I'm over the code adoption process. There's one other thing that I was thinking. I should have taken notes. So we've got self-cert.
We'll circle back to it.
Yeah. But anyway, if you have any questions or needs, my contact, we're going to be making all of our contacts available. So happy to work with you. Thanks.
Good morning. My name's Tom Wandry. I'm the Deputy Director over inspections. Under inspections, we have a communications section and an administrative section. The communications sections transfer a lot of calls throughout the department. They also help schedule your inspections for the permits that you received. I'm also over the AFP, which is our annual facilities program, our commercial inspectors, our general inspectors, which are single-family homes, and also our civil inspection group. And if you got any questions on inspections, please let me know, and we'll try to help you out in any way we can. With that, Miguel.
Thank you, Tom. Miguel Victor. I'm the Deputy Director for the Site Development Team. My team includes the site, civil, traffic, and landscape section. So we coordinate with all our other sister departments on pre-apps, preliminaries. We do technical appeals, design review appeals. So we are front-facing with most of the developers at the beginning of the sections once they get through the entitlement process. So we also work very closely with our zoning section, and I don't see Trish here, but we do coordinate with our zoning section as well. So if you guys have any questions related to any of those processes, all our contact information is here. Don't hesitate to reach out, and welcome and thank you for joining us today. And on to Renee.
Good morning. My name is Renee Blakely. I am over the Office of Customer Advocacy. I'm charged with also administrating the adaptive reuse program. One of our focus is really helping small businesses that are unfamiliar with the development process. So we take the time and actually walk them through that process. We also have, our program also includes funding to help with permit fees and plan review fees. And I'm just looking forward to hearing what you have to say today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ken Alexander. Welcome. Thanks for coming this morning. I'm the Deputy Director over Building and Fire. Just changed. Building and Fire. So my division includes residential and commercial building plan review, fire plan review, along with an administrative support group. Very excited to hear your feedback today. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Adam Miller. As Mary Ann mentioned, I'm under the Business and Strategy Division. My section is Growth, Infrastructure, and Financial Stability. Our group is comprised of some of the city's best accountants and economists and planners. And while that may sound like a random collection of disciplines, what really connects our areas is we deal with the city's growth assumptions. And so the growth assumptions that we put together inform our infrastructure and capital facility needs, as well as the financial health of the Development Services Department. My section also has some of the council initiatives that have been captured and articulated in the proposed general plan update. So that includes the Rio Reimagined program, Walkable Urban Code, and Transit-Oriented Communities. And then most recently, my section's also responsible for the permitting of the short-term rental program. I think I'll turn it back to Josh.
Thank you, Adam. Part of the reorganization that we embarked upon when I first came into the position was about trying to uplift the great people that you have sitting up on stage here with me, but also was strategic in that we wanted to try to organize the department to better align with the demands that we were facing. And it's probably not overt here. Tricia Gomes is not here. She's at another meeting with the council office, so she couldn't be here, but otherwise she would be. Overseeing planning and zoning. So you've got really Trish, Helena, Marianne, and Adam, really kind of either from a strategic planning, business side of the house, right? And as you go into the plan review section, that's all under Jason Blakely now. There was a time where site planning was under planning. We've put it back. Miguel and his team are doing a phenomenal job with all of our site civil sections. And then as you go and you get vertical from inspections, you now got Sam, Tom, and then our Office of Customer Advocacy and Ombudsman in that. And so we really felt that reorganization is positioning us, and I think we've started to see some results in getting some of our turnaround times in a better spot. I certainly want to, I mentioned that we have some department partners here as well, and I want to take an opportunity, although I promised I wouldn't put them on the spot, just to have them at least introduce themselves. And so Chief, I'll start with you if you want to introduce yourself and your team.
Well, thank you, Mr. Director. My name is Tim Kreis. I'm Assistant Fire Chief. I oversee the Community Risk Reduction Division of the Phoenix Fire Department. Prior to that assignment, I was the Operations Chief for the Fire Department for about 4 years. The mission of the Community Risk Reduction Division of the Fire Department is really to identify, reduce the impact of a variety of different risks within the city of Phoenix. So the question is, well, how do we do that? Well, what I oversee is the Office of Emergency Management, the Fire Marshal's Office, the Homeland Defense Bureau, the Fire Investigations Task Force, Community Risk Education section of the Fire Department. And we work extremely closely with a variety of city departments, but certainly Director Ben Derrick's department. And throughout our time and working together, I've been with the city for 21 years, and I don't think I've seen a more dedicated team of professionals and leaders ever assembled than the team that you all have here. And I was a firefighter, Vice Mayor, I was a firefighter, so I qualify that with what I hadn't seen, right? So when you were director, I was still a firefighter, but we work really closely. I have with me today Chief Standage. Brian Standage is Deputy Fire Chief, and he oversees our Fire Marshal's Office, the Fire Prevention section of the Fire Department. And we are excited as a fire department and proud partners with Planning and Development Services to hear from all of you as well, to see what we can learn. We understand as a city that there is no status quo in anything we do, whether it's the public safety mission, the mission of the Planning and Development Services Department to continue to see the city grow and safe and proper through that process. We're either moving forwards or backwards. I see a team of leaders who are moving forward in a very authentic and very real sort of way. Proud to be a part of it and looking forward to the opportunity to hear from all of you today. Thank you.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
Joe, I'll bring you the mic.
Thanks. So, good morning. I'm the new Streets Director. I come from New York, good or bad, 34 years there. Prior to that, Illinois, and a little bit of time in the military. I managed permitting in my last job, a county of 1.5 million people on Long Island, which included the Hamptons. Not an easy process. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised when I got here and found out that it's not under streets. So I know some of the challenges that all of you deal with on a series of permit issues. So, but mostly I'm just here to learn, to listen and to learn, and this is my first event, your last event, but I got in just in time to be able to join you. So happy to be here and nice to meet all of you.
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to take it back to our friends in Water Services. Mr. Swanson.
Morning, everybody. My name's Jim Swanson, so I'm one of the assistant directors in the Water Services Department. With me today also is Max Wilson. So Max is one of our deputies, and he's actually over a lot of the development side from water. So as they're working with planning on all their projects coming in, Max is working with his team on the water sewer offsites. So he also has a team that works on all of our water sewer modeling. So that's a lot of the looking at your projects when they come in to see if they have capacity at their preliminary site plan, so we can actually give you water sewer capacity. So I would say don't call me, call Max, because, you know, he can figure out how to give you a solution, and then when he finds that out, you know, he'll tell me afterwards. So that works really well for me. I'll turn it back to Jason.
Last person I want to introduce, if you have the joy of developing in any of the city's floodplain, which I know is a wonderful experience, you're going to have to work with Mr. Eric Froberg's team, our city engineer. So I'll have Eric introduce himself briefly.
Thanks, Josh. Good morning, everybody. As Josh mentioned, my name is Eric Froberg. I'm the city engineer with the City of Phoenix. Work with many of the departments or divisions that you see up there, whether it's with Sam and TSMC or Adam on some of the long-range planning. In the city engineer's office, we do have the floodplain group. I was lucky enough to bring in Nazar Nabati from Flood Control District, so I am no longer the floodplain administrator, but he does report to me. So anything within the floodplain would go through us. Many other things in the city engineer's office that work specifically with the planning and development department. As everyone else said, with Josh and his team, you've got an excellent team here working with you. So excited to hear more today.
Thank you, Eric. All right. I know that we want to get to the listing. Just if you could humor me just for a couple more minutes to go through a couple aspects of this. I mentioned 3 pillars of service, and I know many of you in the room have heard this before, but I just think it's worth repeating. As we look to get better, part of what we want to do is define those things that we're wanting to address. Again, I mentioned personal. Part of what we lost, as many organizations did through the pandemic, was a level of personal service. So how can we do that? Little things like having everybody's photo on, part of this new org chart, making sure your camera's on, returning calls, those things. Seamless, right? It's been very difficult, especially for our customers, even with the new service model, when they're getting passed around to different departments. It's like, you called the wrong spot. A lot of times they just don't know where to go, right? And part of our job is to make their experience, the minute they touch us, even if we're not the right spot, as seamless as possible to get to the right place. And then innovative. Mary Ann mentioned that she's part of overseeing our overhaul of our permitting system with Shape Phoenix. What are the things that we can continue to do to make our business more accessible, more easier, and more up to speed with everything else going on in the private sector? So I'll go through these really quickly. Part of what we try to personify some of these things as part of this initial conversation that we're having with personal is enhanced communication, reinforcing our 24-hour response time to all messages, establishing standards for communication to ensure clarity, coordinating monthly meetings of partner departments and stakeholders, and highlighting paths to escalate and resolve issues. I highlight these things to say we're certainly here to listen. But we certainly aren't starting this conversation at zero, right? We know where our challenges are. As Grant will probably point out a little later, these are things we are endeavoring to do. We're certainly not here to say that these are all addressed, right? And it's just to highlight. I'm just giving you a hard time, Grant. Appreciate you being here. Empowered staff. Part of what we've heard is, we need staff at a much lower level. Part of why we go to you guys is you guys can make decisions, you get us stuck out of the mud, right? Well, one of the ways that we can get out of that and try to break that cycle is to empower our staff to make the decisions at a much lower level. Part of that requires additional training, fostering a culture of ownership within our staff on the projects, and supporting a problem-solving approach, supporting staff when they do make critical decisions between codes and policies, and hold staff accountable and use opportunities to teach and improve. But it goes both ways. We also want to celebrate when staff does something great. Part of what we're trying to do is make sure that we really celebrate that. We have a quarterly coffee chat where we bring together everyone that we've gotten comments on. Helen Souza in the back, who does a wonderful job supporting this effort. And that puts together a great presentation that we send to the vice mayor, the mayor, all the mayor members of the council, so that they know that we've got a lot of good things coming in as well. Lastly, innovative, efficient organizational structure and process. Update our department org structure, which we highlighted for you. Continue with the implementation of Shape Phoenix. evaluate processes to reduce touch points and redundancies. And part of that is what we're going to be hearing. We've identified certainly, and I think the Vice Mayor, as she mentioned, has already given us some good suggestions about where are the things that maybe we just need to think about doing differently altogether. What are the permits that we may not need anymore? Those are the kinds of things that we're evaluating now and looking forward to circling back with you in the coming months. And then finding new and innovative ways to fill vacancies. I'll give the mayor and the council, vice mayor, another shout out. One of the best things that's happened this past year in 2023 was an update to the city's pay ordinance. We were just really, really hamstrung in order to fill any of our vacancies. And so often, the management team up here would have conversations with staff about, I got an offer from fill in the blank other city. I only have to work 4 days a week. It's a 20% increase, and it's 20%. It's at least a 50% reduction in workload. It's a tough thing to compete with, right? Thanks to the mayor and council and our city management, we're in a better spot competitively from a pay standpoint. Part of our pitch is the day goes by fast, right? It's busy here. And it's always going to be a lot, and it's a challenging place. But man, if you can make it here, you're really set up to have success everywhere. And that's never going to change. We like being busy. We like being Phoenix. We want to continue to support growth. That's why we're here. If you're looking for a slower pace, we're probably not the place for you. But we're just grateful for the support to have the folks who have the resources. Pay raises. Right. All right, so next steps. Part of what I mentioned is we're going to compile this feedback. Our responsibility is to get back to the council to talk about what we heard and what we're going to do, and that's going to happen this spring. And then we'll reach out. In the meantime, that this doesn't stop, right? This is an ongoing conversation. I think you'll look to have some form of this, one form or another throughout the years. This needs to be an ongoing conversation between you as our customers, between our internal partners. So now we get to the fun part of the show, right? We really want to hear from you. If you haven't had a chance, fill out a speaker card because we're trying to document this. We've got 2 questions that we want to address. And as I've mentioned at the previous sessions, we've got you on HD camera. Now, we've had 3 of these filmed, right? For some of you have been here already. Helen and I have started dissecting the film, kind of like a Bill Belichick session. Some of you, I'll just admit, your time at the mic, maybe not as good as it has been, all right, or could have been, right? So I offer this as your opportunities. Let's step up, really let us know what you think, all right? We can send you both clips, and as we put together the montage for the city council, you guys can pick. But I just want you to bring your best when you come up to this mic. Part of what, as you've heard me say before, what are we doing well? If you could humor us, but just to go through that. And it's part of not being cute. It's also really understanding what are the things that we are doing well. Because if we're doing well in one section, that could help inform maybe what we need to do in another section. And then obviously we want to hear where are the areas we can improve upon most. And so grateful for you all being here. Really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I've got some cards up front already. And we'll start with Mike Brecky. Mike, thanks so much.
You want me to go to the mic?
Yes, sir.
And what you guys are doing really well is we had 3 projects in Phoenix, all SFR projects. One was the urban walkable. We were the first, I believe, what they told me, the first builder that submitted and we're going through the process. Nobody in the city had gone through it either because there were so many hurdles. So we finally said, well, we're going to rezone it. And they said, no, let's work together. They jumped through hoops for us and made everything work, okay? On all 3 projects, Missouri and Central, Palm, which is the first one, Palm and 3rd, that's the new urban walkable, and another one on 14th and Bethany. I mean, it's just click, click, click. I'm going, nothing happens as fast at the city of Phoenix until we got to water. And there was the hiccup. Water. And so other than that, that was the thing that was doing well. And then the other thing, so what's not working is the inconsistency calling down and getting a response because nobody's returning phone calls on a daily, 2-day, 3-day email, text. You cannot get a response. And if you do get a response, then someone reviews the plan later, for the second review, oh, we missed this, and you're going through a third review. And when it takes 15 working days for us to approve what you've submitted, and then it takes another 3 weeks to go through the review process, and there's 1 or 2 items on one sheet. Can we have a slip sheet? Can you just slip that sheet so we don't have to go through another? Because right now we've got one project that's $25 million. We're a small builder, and it's $5,300 a day interest at 8.5%. And he goes, okay, that just costs us $400,000 this month because these plans are not approved. So from a small business point of view, that turnaround time for, every principal here passed except one, and you have to go through the same process. So that's my big beef. But the planning side, other than water, has done a phenomenal job. I could not be happier. Okay?
Thank you, Mike. Keenan.
Hi, just a bit of background about myself. My name is Keenan Manhaz. I work in real estate development, obviously. We're doing a large master plan project at the Phoenician. This is the first city council meeting or city planning and development meeting that I've ever attended, so this is very informative to me. And I think, first off, the thing that everybody is doing well is holding meetings like these. I think it goes to show a lot about the city's stance on how to progress and how to make things better. And I think, 2 of the things that I was going to comment on have already been discussed. Personal and efficiency. Sorry, what was the personal and?
Yeah, personal, seamless, and
seamless.
yeah.
Yes. So, one of the big successes that we had that we're kind of having an issue with right now is we used to have a project lead. And that really helped us for a master plan project, kind of connect all of the divisions, keep everybody organized, and really if we had a problem or needed to get something done, we could reach out to one person and then they would kind of funnel it through the various departments. But obviously, as it's already been mentioned, there's been turnover in the city, and so we don't have the luxury of that anymore. But that was something that was really, really great, and hopefully we can continue to keep doing that. One of the biggest struggles I think that we've had has been, like I said, lack of communication between divisions, and then also just this feeling of moving the goalposts. We want to get something approved, we want to get something inspected, signed off on, and when we think we're there, it changes. There's one more thing to do, something that we could have been told about, much earlier on and could have been prepared for, but now it's taking more time, and we have these problems getting things approved on the civil side, going through inspections. This was gone, it had been approved, it had been reapproved, we had done revisions and whatnot, and when we finally get to inspection day, discretion of city inspector says, well, we don't want it done this way. And so it can be difficult to feel like we're fighting an uphill battle, and we thought we were right there. We thought that we had gone through all these boxes ticked and tied, but when it gets to the final minute, it can be difficult to get things improved on the project level. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. James Ashley.
Thank you very much. James Ashley on behalf of the Home Builders Association of Central Arizona. First thing I want to point out, several compliments in terms of the transparency and the openness. In terms of what you're doing well, this is a good example today. And I had a chance to attend the session in November and had a chance to share a long list of some items that I also appreciate the opportunity to share that with you directly, and I sent that list over. So the list today will be a lot shorter. Just want to highlight a couple of items. Just want to, again, the city is working with the spirit of continual improvement, and that is so important for any organization, and that is abundantly clear with these sessions. So I want to thank you, Director, for that opportunity, that openness, the dialogue. It's something that our members really appreciate, and they like the opportunity to have that communication, to have that dialogue back and forth. So just a few items. Also want to thank the Ombudsman team. Any organization, any agency, whether it be the state, you name it, an Ombudsman team is so critical and important. And in terms of the Ombudsman team, I really view that as your critical role to help where there are issues where you really need to get into the weeds. There are detailed, complex issues, challenges that someone's having where they've tried to get it resolved and they need to turn to you to kind of help troubleshoot it. We don't see the role as something that encompasses day-to-day operational things where maybe one of our members has an issue with getting a status update on where something stands in the process, or maybe a communication gap. In terms of working with the Ombudsman team, and we appreciate and value the opportunity to do that, in terms of the role being really as a last resort when things are really complex and necessary. But we do want to thank you for your work on that. A couple other items just to highlight, and I definitely appreciate the reference to our floodplain point of contacts. Floodplains, that's been an issue for some of our members. Just a few highlights. Recently, the process to get homes permitted and inspections passed to move a new Phoenix resident into their home. We have an example from a member where it took over 5 months to move that resident into the home. If a subdivision contains a floodplain, all lots are required to provide elevation certifications to attain that certification of occupancy, even if the lots are located outside of the floodplain. That's something we'd like to have a conversation about. And also the city expanding the floodplain jurisdiction over an entire subdivision, even if only a small portion of the subdivision contains a floodplain, that can add months to closing schedules. So we'd like to discuss that a little bit further. A couple other topics regarding water meters. Water meters cannot be set until a screening process takes place after all development is complete. And the city allows 10% of meters to be released after the walk, causing a backup at the meter yards. Other municipalities that we have experience with, they don't require this, where you get a water meter along with the permit. However, we do know that the water department is working on this, and we want to thank Shane Hurd. We know that Shane Hurd with the city is looking into a pilot program experimenting with setting meters early, so we appreciate the opportunity to work with Shane and the water department. Regarding clay sewer pipes, Phoenix is now the only jurisdiction in the county that requires clay sewer pipes. There was another municipality that made some adjustments to that regarding clay sewer pipes. Our members talk about a lack of supply, the labor-intensive construction nature of those, and the delicate properties of the pipe, making that a challenge. And then when existing sewer mains are shallow, it causes issues with coverage and separation from water lines. So a possible solution could be incorporating PVC and other approved materials for sewer mains and laterals. So we look forward to that conversation as well. On the Shape Phoenix system, I want to thank Marianne Fotinos. We've had some conversations, and I know we're working together to set up an opportunity for our members that have had some concerns and some input and some feedback on Shape Phoenix to be able to have that conversation. So we're looking forward to that upcoming meeting as well. And then when it comes to communication and message consistency from the city, from department to department, and we understand that there are many times where one department has to turn something over, kick it over to another department, in terms of having a good point of contact liaison. And also another compliment in terms of the organization chart that you released. I've actually had those discussions with other municipalities, and we're using Phoenix as a best practice to say, gosh, look at this amazing list and chart that we're able to share with our members, and our members have been very receptive and appreciative to that. In terms of the ability to have something like that for the streets department, the water department, and maybe some other departments as well, I know our members would find a lot of value in that.
I've taken 3 meetings from other municipalities already about the org chart, so thank you guys for spreading the word. And, just keep sending them my way.
We love all of our municipalities. I'm not going to name names, but we can chat about some of those cities later. In terms of, and lastly, I want to talk about affordability. Affordability is something, housing affordability is very important to our association. And whether it comes to accessory dwelling units and the zoning for ADUs, challenges, getting projects through approval, and impact fee increases. And we understand the nature of an impact fee and the importance of growth, paying for growth. But in terms of where we head with those increases, all of that can have an influence and impact on affordability. And we always look forward to having those conversations to make sure that affordability, which is very important, as I said, to our association, and a lot of our members, a lot of the models, the business models of some of our members, it is based on affordable housing. And the ability to prevent any barriers that they may face is something that's really critical. So again, I want to thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the dialogue and the ongoing efforts for continual improvement and the upcoming meetings that we'll have on opportunities for our members to have discussions as well.
Thank you, James. All right, next up, let's see here. Oh, I went out of order. There's Keenan. Is it Frank? I'm having a hard time. Frank, is it Duval? Danson. Oh, Frank Danson. I'm sorry, Frank.
I knew you when they hired you.
Mr. Colley is a doctor.
I know everybody's like shaking right now. But I'm here because of a lot of small projects that I deal with and some large projects I deal with.
Frank, can I get you to stand closer to the mic? I just want to make sure it's...
No, I don't want you to record it. Anyway, I know most of you know me. But anyway, the biggest issue a lot of these smaller developers and homeowners have is answering the phone. Somebody needs to answer the phone or address an email. The biggest issue is that I have is because as you all know, I have a lot of internal contacts. I call that number, nobody calls me back. Then I get a hold of somebody else and they tell me, well, they're working from home. Well, can you at least have them say, I'm working from home today, please email me at this address. I think that would go miles as far as helping with people helping, because I refer a lot of people to contact other people, because in all honesty, I am trying to be retired. And also, I have a couple projects that are going on. We talk about affordable housing. I have a project that I'm helping a guy do a minor site plan on. Where this is going, there isn't a sidewalk for 2 miles on either side of this one lot. Now they want a sidewalk. Really? So I guess we have to go through a technical appeal to get that reduced. I wish you would raise the portionality to 3,000 or even 4,000 rather than the 2,000. 2,000 is nothing as far as on a lot for somebody who's trying to build some units for affordable housing. Number 2 is water department. We apply for a water meter, because I'm working all over the valley. In Paradise Valley, it took 6 months after payment to get that meter set. Finally, I had to contact Nazario, and guess what? The next day, the meter was set. To me, that's kind of, come on, guys, let's get going here. Number 3 is just these ADUs. ADUs are, I mean, I have one right now that's in real high profile, which I'm sure David's well aware of because I had every inspector in the world out at that site. Only thing is, this house or this little unit, only thing it needs is to put a stove in. Well, plan review wants me to submit a complete full set of plans. Zoning wise, it's good, it's okay, it meets all the qualifications. In fact, in 1970, it was issued as a garage. In 2000, Jason Blakely issued a permit to convert this to a hobby/studio with an air conditioner. It even says it on it. This lady bought this house already, this was already done, and got a neighbor who is out of control, giving her grief. And then this also goes with the same story. Inspections tells us to do one thing, we go into the office and no, you can't do this. This lady works for a lobbyist. Get ready, she's coming. Because it's so silly. And all the field inspectors agreed with me that why don't we just provide a floor plan? The 220 outlet's already there. Everything is good. Only thing it needs is smoke detectors. There's egress, there's everything there, but plan review wants us to submit a complete full set of plans. And I'm hearing from a lot of people, these ADUs is, I mean, people are like, they want to do it. But the cities make it so difficult where they have to hire a draftsman to draw a full set of plans, do everything to get this done. But yet, I keep hearing on the news, we're looking for these ADUs, but it's not happening. And if I need to meet with somebody, with staff, to figure out how to get this stuff done, I'd be more than glad to. And I'm not here to complain. I just would like to see the process move forward. I worked for the city for quite a few years in pretty much all the areas. In fact, I remember when all of you were hired. So, you know, I think we need to be a little bit open-minded on some of this stuff. And if it meets the intent, it's good. If it doesn't meet the intent, yes, I see a problem. And I do tell people, no, there's no way this is going to work. But we need, I believe plan review and inspections need to work closer together. And also for SHAPE, I hear SHAPE is working great. I'm old school. I'm still with Kiva. But people I've talked to said that SHAPE is improving, which is a good thing. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Frank. You know, normally I want to make sure that we're just doing a great job listening here, but I do want to make sure that you understand and address the point about if you're not getting calls back. You know, it's critical, and Miguel and I were just at a staff training yesterday where we really emphasized that with a good chunk of his team, that you should not be feeling any sort of pain with someone working remotely, right? Everybody's required to have a software on their computer that transfers that call seamlessly. There shouldn't, we are not encouraging folks to leave a distinction on their voicemail to say, hey, just email me instead. If someone's best way to get a hold of you is via phone, then it's your responsibility to get back to them on the phone. So I'll just stop there. I think happy to set up some time. I will tell you that ADUs, I think we're getting better as these have come in. Like maybe we don't need this, maybe we do. Still a long way to go, but happy to have some conversations about what we need to keep doing. Alex, I saw Alex. Alex, our chair of our Paradise Valley Village Planning Committee. Thank you for being here, sir.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Josh, we spoke the other day. I'm going to wear two hats here. I'm going to wear the citizen hat and then the chairperson hat for Vice Mayor's village in Paradise Valley Village. As a developer, so this is my private hat / developer hat, I work for the Richmond Group. We're the nation's largest affordable developer and 7th largest multifamily developer. We were just awarded the RFP for the Helen Drake Senior Center, which we're super excited about, just got it rezoned. Let me give you some frame of reference. So we're all over the country. Let me back up first. What are we doing well? Let's start with that. Sorry about that. The org chart, phenomenal. Just to be able to put a face and a name, little things go a long way. I implore to keep these kind of dialogue going with the public-private. This kind of thing is phenomenal. I think it'll only grow over time as I spread the word to all the organizations that I'm a member of. I think it's invaluable. It's easy to get bogged down in our jobs. I think this keeps a really good dialogue face-to-face going, and it just pays off in spades. So in California, for me to build a 1-bedroom, 1-bath affordable unit costs us, for the Richmond Group, officially just went over $1 million. So it's $1,014,000 to build a 1-bedroom, 1-bath affordable unit in California. I would implore the council, everyone here, we need to form a separate line for affordable housing as far as the development process goes. Are we more important than the market rate guys, which I do both? No, but we can quickly get out of hand if we don't. With the more points I have to touch, costs me more time and money and doesn't bring those units to market quick enough for our most vulnerable population, which is the obtainable and affordable portion of this. It'll help us meet the mayor's criteria quicker of 50,000 units by 2030. So I think we can really look into that. I know it comes down to time and personnel and money. I think we can get creative somehow through some initiative to find Director Bednarik, 6 to 8 people that we discussed. Let me now take off that hat and put on the village chair hat. The villages are important. I know it's kind of, well, it's the locals, this and that. Our village and the Vice Mayor's village, we're the most active just because we have Kierland, which has kind of become its own little mega city, right? So it's an important process, and the director and I discussed, I think, some kind of introduction class or some kind of video for incoming members to understand Development 101 would go a long way. So there's a lot we can do. I think this kind of dialogue goes a long way to the discussion between the public and private. And thank you for everything you do in the city. I think we have the best city in the nation.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, guys.
Carolyn Oberholtz.
Good morning again, everybody. Happy New Year, and thank you again for doing this. It's been massively helpful. I've seen, the positive is that you guys are already implementing a lot of the feedback that was given to you guys in our first meeting. A couple of things that we've seen a difference in is just integrating your staff in our higher level conversations to help to empower them. I've already gotten to know more younger staff members in the last month than probably over the course of the whole year, frankly. That might just be the nature of the workload, but I really appreciate. I know you're taking everything to heart. And as was said, we've been sharing this with other cities. I too have shared your org chart with others, saying it's super helpful. I was on the phone with a client yesterday, having them look it up so that they could see when they're asking me, who did you talk to and what does this mean? And they had the chart, and it was so helpful. So I think that your receptiveness, having this, that was our first thank you. And now it's, while we're really seeing this put into action in a way that is making a difference. And at a time that is very important, because I don't see this letting up for us. I know we're all looking for that break, but I just don't think it's happening. So the more people we can get, the more people are succession planning and growing the staff into positions of power, we're going to need it because we're just, I don't know, I keep thinking we're going to get a break and it's just not coming, and the projects are getting bigger and more important. And, so anyway, the idea that there's an ombudsman office is something that actually is news to me. And so I'm not sure that I understand where and how we engage that office, but I'd like to hear more about that. And then I would just say the challenge to raise today that I think we've touched on in the earlier meetings, and I think you've heard a lot today, is just the siloed nature of some of the other departments that you think would be under development. You guys have the problem of having the planning and development department. So when a client has a problem in streets or water, we call you guys. And as Ken knows, I was on a meeting yesterday and I was like, nobody that can solve this problem is here. And there's a lot of people on this meeting. And it's because it was a water and streets issue. And so I think that it's great that the directors and their staff are here today to hear that. I think everybody wants to work together. And when we get to those departments, it's great. The problem is when we have the intersection of we need a collaborative solution. It's hard to figure out how to get everybody together to do that. And before, you've heard me say this, and since the vice mayor's here, I'll definitely say it again for her benefit. Coming down to City Hall is where a lot of us earned our stripes. Being able to come and run around to different departments, can't solve this, I'll just sit around until I find that person. And that's how we started a lot of our relationships, was just hanging out at City Hall. The appointment system, I understand you guys are busy, and this helps you guys not get flagged down. You're not terrified to walk through the third floor's table scene, because how many people, I understand you guys need back doors to escape us out there, but at the same time, we try to be really judicious in involving you guys. We try not to call you. And even today, I've already solved a few massive problems just by having you guys in the room. And it's incredibly helpful to be able to see you guys accidentally. So in any event, opening City Hall again to the world and not in an appointment system, I think is something that would be great in 2024. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn brought up a point about the Ombudsman's office, our Office of Customer Advocacy, and I'd like Sam to come up, talk a little bit about, as Sam oversees those groups, and it's actually one of the focuses of Bloomberg, is taking a look at those sections for us. How can those ultimately best serve? So I'll have him expand a little bit about what each of those groups does and where we think they're going. Sam.
Perfect. Carolyn, sorry, this is the first time you've heard about us, but our Ombudsman section's been in effect really about a year. But let me give you some background. We've had the Office of Customer Advocacy. I think we're back to 2008, somewhere in there when the office actually started. And it was a place to help individuals who were just not sure where a project should go, trying to understand the process. Sometimes it's somebody who's just a one-off. What do we need to do? They also run the adaptive reuse program. They also are helping out with all the light rail and all the small businesses and the expansion of our light rail. So when the Ombudsman section came on, we have an opportunity now to to take some of the cases that were really going to the Office of Customer Advocacy that weren't program related. They were just kind of the catch-all in the department. This group can help you through a process. And now I've got an ombudsman section who is really digging into these and really trying to help those individuals out. What I'm excited about is what our ombudsman team is doing, and they're working with Bloomberg to track issues that are coming up. And when something is a common occurrence, when we're seeing this multiple times, we're actually able to go over to the different team leaders and say, hey, we're seeing something that probably needs to either have a little better education on your team or some cross communication so we can improve a process. So it's not just helping people immediately with their issues, but it's helping us with long-term solutions in the department as part of the continuous improvement, so we can go forward and make improvements. So the Bloomberg group is working with us. We've been looking at all the different information being tracked by our ombudsman team, and it's pretty extensive. And then we're also looking at comparing it with some of the results we're getting from our Office of Customer Advocacy. And the other group, just so you know, because Tom, with our inspection team, he talked about our communications group. That's another one of our customer service teams. That's the other group we're kind of lumping in and trying to figure out what's the best way to organize these three groups so we can, distinctively divide up the job responsibilities and duties and best serve our customers. And our customers are you. Our customers are the ones that call with a challenge. Our customers are the ones that we might be able to solve the challenge ahead of time by seeing something where there's a pattern and going, this really needs to be fixed, addressed, and make those changes in the organization. And that way we can really be customer focused on all the different areas. But just to be clear right now, our Office of Customer Advocacy, again, this is our adaptive reuse program. They're also focusing on all the light rail expansions. They were the catch-all. We're trying to figure out how we can divide some of those responsibilities. The ombudsman team is the one that they're really digging in the weeds and trying to help individuals, but they're tracking that information so when we see a pattern, we can figure out what to do as an organization so we don't keep somebody in a wheel. We want to make sure if we have a solution, we find something that's not being, we're not doing a good job educating our staff or bringing the information to our customers, we're making recommendations to make those changes which will impact the future. So that's kind of where we are right now. Sorry that's the first time you've heard about them. Awesome information on our webpage. And I'll get with you later, Carolyn, talk more. Thanks, Josh.
Tell your friends, Carolyn, all right? Ombudsman's office. Mr. Steve Betts, come on up.
Thank you for doing this. I'm Steve Betts. I wear several hats in my flunking of my retirement. So over the last decade or so, I have taken on a number of kind of interesting and exciting projects, and from the Helios Education Foundation to the Park Central Mall redevelopment, and now Metro Center and a dual brand hotel up north by TSMC, and now working on a number of missing middle multifamily projects, attainable housing, to deal with our tidal wave of jobs that are coming, but those jobs are coming at sort of that price point that we're not addressing very well. And let me say that I think in terms of doing well, and Miguel, we've worked well with you and your team quite a bit on this, on these early projects that, honestly, I think that the department has always done exceptionally well at being creative, at being willing to listen to unique problems and situations, being willing to sort of address some of these unique projects and in a creative way. And I've always been from the top down, really, and a lot of times on projects as unique as the Helios project was, and Park Central has been, that it takes an opportunity to kind of sometimes sit down and think about it from a broader perspective, and not just say the code requires this or whatever, and think outside the box. And that's something I've always appreciated about the city of Phoenix, and as opposed to other cities I've worked in over my career. And timeliness. I've never really had much problem with the timeliness of the city, again, compared to many other cities I've worked in. And so thank you for that. And and the ability to grow as a city. You know, this session, the fact that you're willing to do these sessions and put out an org chart, and I think has been terrific. I guess in terms of doing better, the thing I want to talk about are, look, there's no secret that doing these kind of projects, you know, the thing that you can help with, land infrastructure and parking are the three things that kill our performance. And you know, look, we can design, we can deal with construction costs, we can do, those are things you can't help us much with. But in terms of land costs, that's the timing, that's the entitlement cost and such. But you know, a lot of speakers have spoken to that and have given you some advice. And parking, you know, you've heard that a lot in some of your other sessions, and you know, I think we are evolving a lot as a society and as a community on parking. And you know, and if we can think creatively about parking these projects and think proactively, think into the future about where parking is going, I think that would make a huge difference. Because frankly, trying to build concrete into the cost of concrete into your projects is really difficult now, and on these projects, and to make it work, particularly on my missing middle residential projects, it makes it really, really tough. And if we can be creative on parking requirements, I know that you all are thinking about that as a city. But infrastructure, and that's the one I really want to speak to for a moment. Infrastructure costs can really kill a performa, and offsite infrastructure, public infrastructure. You know, we have to deal with our own infrastructure on-site, you know, the things that deal with your project. But if you get hit with significant offsite infrastructure costs, you know, you can't go forward. And particularly today with interest rates where they are, with other costs hitting you. And look, nobody wants to lawyer up and talk about exactions and illegal exactions. And I think everyone's heard about Nolan Dolan and the Supreme Court cases about what you can and can't do as a city. And nobody has the time to lawyer up and to make those kind. But maybe it would be helpful if there was just sort of a policy or some kind of process to go through, and so that, you know, because I hope everyone realizes that as you put these conditions on projects, if there's a condition for off-site improvements, road improvements, water improvements, a hawk requirement, or other kinds of requirements on a project, you need to take a look at it and say, is that actually, is it related to that particular project? And the Nolan Dolan cases are that it has to be and have an essential nexus and proportionality to that project. And because if it doesn't, it really does impact the viability of that particular project. And we have to get creative on how. And look, I do understand that cities have huge infrastructure needs, and we're trying to get as much as we can out of these development projects, so that we don't have to put everything onto our CIP plan, and so that we can cover some costs. Development ought to pay its own way. Development should pay for itself. I get that. I believe in that. And in really good times, you can oftentimes get development to pay more than its own way. That's what we try to do sometimes, but it can't kill the project, and so we have to kind of look at those kind of requirements. Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court is right now considering a case that's going to take even a harder look at those Nolan Dolan cases and this exaction sort of issue, and so, you know, be watching for that decision to come down. I think that will tighten up this a little bit, but help on infrastructure if you can, and infrastructure finance. You know, I mentioned this last time I spoke. You know, if we can get creative, and the city was, let me again say in a positive way, on these really big, complicated mixed-use projects like Park Central and Metro Center. The city has been very creative and very positive and very proactive, because you can't do those kind of large, complicated projects unless your city is really a partner with you on creating the infrastructure that's needed for those kind of projects. So those would be my comments, but thank you for doing these sessions. I think they're very cathartic, I think, in many ways. I think they're helpful for all of you, but helpful for all of us to be able to get some things off our chests sometimes. And so I think it's been a great session, so thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Steve. I'll speak just a minute about, Steve talked about parking, and we have a text amendment coming to the City Council on January 24th that will make some modifications to our minimum parking requirements. As you know, we have to take our text amendments through a robust public hearing process. It goes through the villages, planning commission, and city council. And that text amendment has gone through an interesting journey. It certainly looks a lot different than when it started out. And as I started off this conversation about partnership, and so I'll use, while I have the mic, a moment where we need some help in that area. And the Vice Mayor and I have had this conversation. Part of where I think we were challenged in having a conversation with the community, with our village planning committees, with the planning commission about parking. And parking is just one of the things that we're going to be talking about. It's going to be building height, land use, setbacks, lot coverage. Is so much of that conversation when we were at the village planning committees, we were on our own. And where we need some help, right, is helping sort of frame that conversation about some of the changes that we need, some of the modernization that we need to our codes and why. Because if it's just us up there having that conversation, it just doesn't resonate, right? Yeah. Having somebody, I think you brought up, somebody brought up like a Lorenzo Perez project at 14th and Highland, right? He's got 0 parking spaces on that particular development, 0. He had to go through a variance to do it, which is 2 months, right? But having somebody, and then Lorenzo wrote in a letter of support, he was great. But we need more folks like that to help tell those stories about why a modernization of our codes is necessary, because we cannot carry that water by ourselves. And so
shared parking models, how shared parking can work if you've got a mixed-use project where you have we did a project at 28th and Camelback where we had a hotel and an office building, and those are great day-night shared parking models where the hotel uses the parking at night, the office uses the parking during the day, so you can reduce the parking requirements, and that reduces a lot of concrete, which is very expensive. But we're looking at that now with residential, with this missing middle residential. How much can we reduce the parking requirements on that attainable housing by combining it with different commercial uses and reduce then the rental rates that you need for that residential. And that's the kind of creative uses the creative thinking that we need to bring down some of the costs on some of this residential. So,
yeah.
But thank you for thinking about
we're on board, Steve. We're gonna bring it back. I think part of we had a great conversation with the Vice Mayor's subcommittee TIP last fall about a whole host of text amendments that we have on deck. There's about 12. And we don't have any staff dedicated for them. I'll give Tricia Gomes a shout out. She's here. She does it basically on her lunch break or at night, and we get a lot done. There's a lot that we need to do, and the idea that maybe we're short staffed shouldn't be an impediment. We've got to find a way to break those out. Part of that's why I'm asking for help now. Yep. If we're going to be successful in making our way down that list, I think we're going to roll out and we're going to work with the Vice Mayor on some ideas about how I think we can tackle some of those a lot quicker, but we need you on board with that effort.
But thank you for being collaborative.
Yeah, we're going to need it. Any other last chance to come up to the mic? Wendy Riddell, come on up.
I'm going to keep my card just so I can remember what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy.
Very good at staying on script, so we'll try. Wendy Riddell, it's very nice to be here. Things you do well, you always answer the phone, how can I be helpful today? It's wonderful. I've suggested to my husband, he ought to try it. That hasn't gone as well, but it's very clear everybody up here really cares and is really working to improve. I think the biggest problem is the silos among departments. I will tell you, I have had multiple conversations where someone will say, well, yeah, that's streets. You all work in the same building, right? Everybody, the consumer, the clients, it's Phoenix. They don't think streets, water, whoever, that can't be the excuse. There has to be better communication. I think a really great example of that is you guys have these team leads. They're awesome, it's great. But the people underneath them don't report to them. So you'll get stuck where somebody says, well, that's a streets issue, we can't get a response, and your team lead is being honest and saying, yeah, I can't either. Or I'm not picking on streets in particular, but whatever the department is. I'll get to you, don't worry. It's like there has to be some accountability to the team lead from the entire team they're supposed to lead. I don't know how you can do it otherwise. Steve brought up a spectacular point about proportionality. We are really seeing that become more and more of an issue. And it's not really fun to argue case law to your planners and to the people involved. Like, that doesn't make me super popular. But we're now seeing, for example, in streets, I told you it was coming, you know, you're asking for contributions to signals that are a mile off the site. Like, there's no way that withstands constitutional scrutiny. And there's got to be some policy that looks at that so we're not having that argument. And there's got to be some basic understanding of folks as to what is and isn't allowed. I get it. Phoenix is an aging city. You guys are trying to help it get the infrastructure that it needs. The developer's standing there. They seem like they have a big pocketbook, but they don't have that big a pocketbook, and you can't legally ask for some of the things you're asking for. So I think a proportionality policy and understanding of the staff would be really good. Last one is village training. I mean, there is value in the villages. Yes, I said it. I know it's being recorded. I may regret it later. But it is very challenging because there is not consistency among the villages. And there's not a consistent understanding of what they can and can't ask for. And it ends up with people like Carolyn and Manjula and I running around and basically negotiating with all the different village members. And while that's spectacular job security, like, I don't think I'm in any danger of losing my job here. So there's got to be a little bit better way. Oh, sorry, one last thing. I know I said last, but Carolyn's right. Like, I had no idea there was an ombudsman program. I'm at City Hall a lot. So very nice to meet you. I have a problem for you to solve. When we file applications, any kinds of the applications, they often go into the ether. And unless you have a wonderful staff like I do that knows how to track people down and bug them and is relentless about it, it can take weeks before they ever show up or you get any response or even know it's filed. And my poor clients who call me and say, oh, well, we filed this. It was 3 weeks ago. We haven't heard anything. Like, that's not okay. So that if you guys can figure out some way that there's immediate accountability and tracking and response to what gets filed, I think that will go a very long way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Anybody else? Oh,
I do have a couple suggestions.
Absolutely, Vice Mayor.
And it does come. I did, as I noted, I got a permit. I did the right thing. But I think this is an opportunity, and I'm looking especially at the chief building official. This is an opportunity to look at some of the things that we require that maybe because standards have gotten so much better with products, we may not have to permit them. So when I was the director, water heaters. You remember this, Tom. We used to permit water heaters. We don't do that anymore. So I think it's an opportunity to look at some things that perhaps we don't need to permit. So another example was like for like on roofing. We did away with that permitting. So I think it's an opportunity just to sit down. I'm not picking on you. I know you do great work. I just think that you're a smart guy. I think you have the opportunity. Yeah. Yeah, and then looking at planning, there's also an opportunity to look at some of the use permits and special permits we do, and perhaps it's time to reevaluate. For example, again, when I was planning director, tattoo parlors used to be a special permit. Not anymore, because everyone has tattoos. I don't, but pretty much everyone I know has a tattoo. I'm old. It would look really wrinkly on me. So I'm not getting a tattoo. But I think it's an opportunity to look at some of our special permits and say, do they really need to be special permits anymore? Perhaps it could be a use permit. We did that again when we looked at parking for special needs. So we have various types of multifamily residential for seniors, for people that are Alzheimer's. Obviously, there's areas that you don't need the kind of parking, and so we went to a use permit as opposed to variance. So I will support you. I will support you. I know it's tough because sometimes when something goes wrong, you're called up to the 11th floor and a council person yells at you. I promise I won't be one of those because I know you guys can solve the problem. But I think it's a great opportunity right now to work with the other departments because it is a team effort, and the development community is building our community. They provide a lot of the infrastructure. It's our opportunity to work as a team, and I want you to know I think council does support you. I know you guys do good work, I really do. But let's get creative and think about some things that maybe we don't have to do anymore that could really streamline it for all of us. And my suggestion would be permitting like-for-like walls. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to thank the Vice Mayor again for being here, for her leadership, for hiring half of the people on this stage over the years. I also want to thank and recognize a tremendous leader of our city, and that's Mayor Kate Gallego. Again, we're not able to do any of this without her leadership, her support, with her letting us know what the standard is for us. And so I just appreciate you being here. I'd like to invite her up to say a few words. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Josh. We appreciate your leadership of the planning department. I want to thank all of you for the gift of your time. I know many of you have been to all of these sessions, are really committed to making us a better city. We have lots of great ideas that are tangible and workable, and that is great. We're committed to trying to feel more like one city and do silo busting and make sure everyone who wants to live, work, and play in our city has a great place to do it. So thank you for helping us build this city. A special thank you to Vice Mayor Stark for being the elected official lead on this process. We are so lucky to have someone with such a deep expertise. Not only has she hired very many of the people here, but she's been on all sides of it and has a real deep commitment to fairness. I think we all recognize that a planning process is expensive and time consuming, and it's just, I feel very lucky to have a colleague who really wants to make it better, who cares deeply about fairness if we're doing the right thing and if we're trying to be consistent, who wants us to have a safe city with good quality buildings. So we're not lowering standards, we're just improving processes. And so Vice Mayor, thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause for Vice Mayor Stark? So I and the rest of the council are really looking forward to the department's process improvement report and action to come in spring and early summer, and we'll continue to improve processes. We're trying to reorganize the city in ways that help with that silo. So I think it matters that our Deputy City Manager, Ellen Stevenson, has both streets and planning and several functions that should all come together, and we hope that will help as well. Ellen, thank you for your leadership. And I know Josh already recognized her, but I want to thank Rose Gill for being with us. She has been a great asset for our city in terms of thinking about smart processes, and she also helped us save a bunch of money with a census challenge. We were the largest city to successfully challenge our census results, so thank you for your work in so many different areas and helping us with your consulting expertise. We are really committed to trying to get national best practices and learn from whoever, whether it's small cities that do this better or what New York City did. We know we have no pride of ownership here, and cities are good about taking the best ideas that are out there and really trying to move forward. It's my goal and the Vice Mayor's for us to be the best city in which to do business, and we know it's a big New Year's resolution, but it seems like the right time with the momentum to go forward. So thank you all for caring enough about the city to show up and help us achieve that very lofty New Year's resolution. Thank you.
Thank you again to the mayor. Thank you again to the vice mayor. So as we close out, does anybody have any final comments? Well, again, I thank you all for your time. I thank you all for being here. Again, our responsibility is to report back to this group in the spring, having a conversation about what we're going to do. I'm really excited to do that. So many of the ideas, as Carolyn, I think, hit on, that you shared with us back in November, we've already started on. I'm excited to unveil some of these. It's just, you don't want to kind of get out of your head of yourself. And so I think you're going to be really pleased with some of the things that we'll roll out. But before we leave, though, I do want to recognize everyone's really excited about the org chart. I've told you I've gotten 3 meetings with different cities that are already asking me how to do it, sending them the template. But the person responsible for putting that together and all these sessions together is Helen Sosa in the back. If you haven't, give me a round of applause. Helen and I basically started these jobs together, and she's been a tremendous partner for me, and we wouldn't be able to do this without her. So thank you. Thank you all again for being here this morning.